Okay, let's just jump right in. There is so much buzz, so much anxiety out there about artificial intelligence. It's the conversation happening everywhere, in offices, on team calls, and probably in the back of your own head. And it almost always comes down to one single nagging question.
Yep, this one right here. This is the question that keeps people up at night, isn't it? This fear that we're all just one update away from being replaced by some super smart algorithm. And look, that's a totally understandable fear. But what if I told you it's leading us down the completely wrong path?
Because what if that's just the wrong question to be asking? All the research we're about to look at suggests that framing this as you versus AI is a huge mistake. It sets you up for a race you simply cannot win, and more importantly, a race you don't even need to be running in the first place.
This quote just nails it. I mean, think about it. AI will always crunch data faster. It's going to learn technical stuff at a speed no human ever could. So trying to beat it at its own game, that's not a strategy. It's just a recipe for exhaustion. The real move is to change the race.
So, let's switch gears from anxiety to actual evidence. What is the data from places like MIT, McKinsey, and the World Economic Forum really telling us about the future of work? Let's take a look.
Now, you see a number like 60%, and it's easy to panic. But here's what's so interesting. An MIT report found that about 60% of jobs are going to be reshaped by automation. The key word there isn't eliminated, it's transformed. This is not about replacement, it's about augmentation. It's about letting AI handle the boring, routine stuff so we can focus on what really matters.
And McKinsey's research makes this crystal clear. On one side, you've got the skills at risk, the routine work, basic data entry, all the predictable stuff that machines are great at. But then on the other side, you have the skills in super high demand. We're talking complex problem solving, emotional intelligence, strategic judgment. Are you starting to see a pattern here?
The World Economic Forum totally backs this up. Look at this list. By 2027, the skills that are rising to the top aren't about being a machine. They're about analytical and creative thinking. They're about resilience, flexibility, curiosity, and even self-awareness. I mean, these are all deeply, deeply human capabilities.
So here's the big takeaway from all this research. The danger isn't that machines are getting too human. No. The real danger has been when we, as people, have been stuck in jobs that force us to act like machines. AI is just taking over the work it was designed for. And honestly, it's freeing us up to do the work it can never do.
Which brings us to, well, the most important part of this whole conversation. If we're not supposed to be competing with AI, then what's our role? What is it that we do that a machine fundamentally cannot? This, right here, is our irreplaceable human advantage.
It really starts with this idea, contextual judgment. See, AI is brilliant at spotting patterns in data, but it has zero genuine understanding. It can't handle tricky situations, or nuance, or those weird edge cases where there's no clear rulebook. That's our territory. That's where humans shine, making smart calls when the data's a mess and the stakes are high.
And it's not just one thing. Research from places like Stanford and Deloitte points to a whole bunch of these skills that just can't be automated. We're talking about real empathy, complex communication, and ethical reasoning in those tricky gray areas, or coming up with truly brand new ideas. These aren't soft skills anymore. They're absolutely critical skills.
And here's the proof in the pudding. Organizations are now saying their single biggest roadblock to growth isn't finding people who can code. It's finding people who can communicate, think critically, and adapt. They've got the technology. What they need are the humans who know how to use it wisely.
This is really the bottom line. Companies already have AI. They don't need to hire you to be a slower, less efficient version of a tool they already own. What they desperately need are human partners, people who can provide the oversight, the creativity, and the ethical backbone that technology will simply never have.
Okay, so if the goal isn't to be more like a machine, what's the path forward? For you, personally, in your career, how do you actually build a competitive edge in this new world?
The answer is actually surprisingly simple, but it's also pretty profound. Your new advantage is clarity. In a world with infinite information, the goal isn't to memorize it all. AI already does that better. The goal is to deeply understand your unique human strengths, what you truly value, and how you can bring that to the table. AI has processing power, sure, but you have purpose. You have an identity. So, what does this actually look like? Well, first, you've got to identify your core human strengths. Are you a creative problem solver, an empathetic leader, a brilliant strategic thinker? Second, you double down on those skills. You hone them. And third, you shift your whole mindset from competing with AI to collaborating with it. Use it as a tool.
And hey, this isn't just some nice, feel-good idea. It has a real, measurable impact. Deloitte found that people who have a super clear sense of their professional identity, who know who they are and what they offer, are 3 times more likely to successfully handle big career changes. That's huge. Clarity is your new superpower.
So let's end on this thought. This whole conversation around AI, it really shouldn't be a source of fear. It should be an invitation. It's an opportunity to finally shed the boring, repetitive parts of our jobs and double down on what makes us uniquely, powerfully irreplaceable. The real challenge isn't about catching up to technology. It's about getting much, much clearer on what it means to be strategically human.